Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me. In my series, The New World Order, Media and Press Releases, something just bizarre came to my attention. So I thought I'd make a special video. It's some press releases here for 2016, and unbelievable. And maybe I can prove they're wrong. What, you say, right? An after-school Satan club could be coming to your kid's elementary school. An after-school Satan club. You can't make this stuff up. Doug Messer, who goes by the professional name, get this, Lucian Greaves. Lucian, Lucifer, Lucas. Greaves, sounds kind of cemetery, is a co-founder and spokesman for the Satanic Temple, a group of political activists who are seeking to establish after-school Satan clubs as a counterpart to the fundamentalist Christian Good News Club, which they see as an attempt to infiltrate public education and erode constitutional separation of church and state. And I'm here to tell you now, I've got books right here, I'm on the table, 3 stacks like this, to show that they've been attacking Christianity for 100 years, 200 years, maybe longer. Organizations like the Freemasons, Illuminati, Zionist. Henry Ford wrote books about it. The Theophist Society, Rosicrucianism. They killed Jesus once, and it looks like they want to kill the whole Christian religion and kill Jesus twice. Even that comedian, Sarah Silverstein or Silverman, she said, as a comedian, you can go look it up on the internet, I'm sure, YouTube. She goes, yes, we killed Jesus, and if he comes back, we're going to kill him again. And I've paid plenty of attention to the Jerusalem Post, jpost.com, over the years, read the press releases, and went below and looked at the comment section. You can do it. And they do not like Jesus, and they make fun and laugh at Christians. I think one of the funniest comments I read is they were laughing at Christians for buying Christmas toys for their kids that they were manufacturing. They thought it was just hilarious. Now we got the 7 candlestick menorah being put on the White House lawn or inside instead of the Christmas tree. Downtown in all your cities, bye-bye Christmas. Bye-bye Jesus in the manger. So there's something definitely going on. So anyways, they're planning this after-school Satan club. And look at this Satan little cartoon character dude. Looks like a dirty old man cartoon character. And he's going to be spending time with the kids. Salem, Massachusetts. It's a hot summer night. And leaders of the Satanic Temple have gathered in the crimson walled living room of Victoria Mansion in this city, renowned for its witch trials in the 17th century. So from 1601 to 1699, 1700, they were having witch trials. Now the witches are coming out of the closet with the gay people. The pedophilias, transgenders, What else? Bestiality. Ashley Madison, and you can have an adulterous affair. Confidentiality guaranteed. So anyways, they're watching a sepia-toned video in which children dance around a maypole. That's a satanic celebration thing, holiday. A spider crawls across the clown's face, and eerie, ambient chanting gives way to a backward demonic voiceover. The group chuckles with approval. Only my highlighted portions. You can go look up this information. They point out that Christian evangelical groups already have infiltrated the lives of America's children through after-school religious programming in public schools. And they appear determined to give students a choice. Jesus or Satan? Now I'm thinking here, if you got to make a choice, Jesus, treat others how you want to be treated, or Satan, Aleister Crowley's admitted religion, do as thou wilt. The man noted for his nickname was the evilest man alive. Sex and murdering children and satanic sacrifices. I have that. I'm going to go over it in this video. So you got a choice. Jesus or Satan. Looks like it's coming to a head worldwide. Which is prophesied in the Bible. Which is, strangely enough, the preferred method to execute Christians is beheading. And curiously enough, if you go look it up, don't believe anything I say, the government, some truck drivers, were delivering guillotines to army bases, maybe FEMA camps, many FEMA camps all across the country. The government bought 450 million hollow point bullets. I don't care what war it is. I don't care if we're at war with China and Russia or Germany or whatever, Japan or Brazil or Alaska. Hollow point bullets probably the most horrific death-causing thing you could do. It's inhumane. It's beyond reality. They go in here and they come out the back, maybe the size of a basketball hole. It's meant for massive death. I have this little photo sitting on my table. And me mentioning that made me think of this. Looks like it's in another language, not English. 1930, I guess some cartoon character type artist drew this, I guess, about the Zionists taking the whole earth in a bloodbath. I think this is way beyond anything in the realm of human thinking. There's something way bad here. So I guess the Bible might be right. So it says here, it's critical that children understand that there is a multiple perspective on all issues. Children, you're not supposed to influence them. They're going to influence them. And that they have a choice on how they think, said Doug Messner, the Satanic Temple's co-founder. And remember that meeting with Rockefeller, that Aaron Russo, had to go get these. Back in 2006, I've been investigating what the heck is going on in the world since then, and I didn't know where it would lead me, honestly. But I got these. I've ordered a whole case of these. Go on the YouTube and you probably can find this. fantastic video. It's called America, Aaron Russo, Freedom to Fascism. I watched it with a friend of mine the other day, and it just totally on target. 2006, that's 10 years ago. So I got a whole case of these. Sometimes I go downtown and just hand them out. Anybody who wants to learn something. Back then, I wasn't into the YouTube thing. So let me take a break here and look at some of these books from the documents. I said I think I can prove there's something sinister about this. Club of Satan at your kid's school, maybe? So anyways, we're talking about the New Age. Got so many books to look at. But I do have these, about 6 of these. I should get some more, just to read them. Interesting collection. But anyways, apparently the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry was putting out a magazine called The New Age. So make no bones about it, the Freemasons are involved. So are the Theosophist Society, the Zionist Jewish people who control the United Nations, hence the United Nations. And many other secret mystery school of Babylon cults. We're going to see how that's all connected. But on the back of this, in particular, now that we're talking about, they want school Satan clubs. How long has this been going on? Like they would say. This is 1962. And it says on the back of this, the entire separation of church and state and opposition to every attempt to appropriate public monies, federal, state, and local, directly or indirectly, for the support of sectarian or private institutions, Christian schools. They want all the children in public schools, and they want them to learn about Satan. And they show them homosexual films and teach them a whole doctrine of reality that's not Christianity. And the symbolisms are here. I love this words, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty. So I suppose the Satanists want liberty, want equality. I suppose more children, other than the 50,000 or more that are abducted every year for satanic rituals, I guess that number will have to increase. You have to be able to have freedom of religion, even if it is satanic worship. Illuminati, abducting people. Plenty of evidence out there. Where do you see these books? And this symbolism here, you got a naked woman here, it looks like, and an ankh and a snake. And I've gone over these symbols. There's the ankh on the bottom and the snake on his chest. The ankh, the T, means divine. The circle is the snake. It's the divine snake. I've gone over this. I'm going to go over it again. And of course, the naked woman there. And equality, liberty, and fraternity to the Luciferic worshippers. And there's plenty of these. And then they got the thing about the entire separation of church and state on the bottom there. You can pause it. Number 5. United Nations I keep talking about. The cult of the all-seeing eye. This is the United Nations meditation room. I've gone over this. Anyways, there's a big black stone. And in Mecca, where they march all around that stone during Ramadan or whatever it is. So it's a religious symbol. And we've gone over it. It is like the all-seeing eye on the U.S. $1 bill. part of this religion. Why are these religious, it's called a temple of understanding. So if there's a separation of church and state, if they really want to be that serious, why are they letting Satan in, controlling the United Nations, and Jesus and Christianity is out? And now they say if you talk about this stuff, you're a hater. You're a Christian, you're a bigot. You don't approve of sodomy? There's something wrong with you. Although I don't think it's appropriate to be sticking the sexual unit up somebody's rear end. It's full of bacteria and disease. It's waste. And that part of the body that is not designed to be penetrated. You can rupture the canal. And just talk to any nurse or emergency room hospital to get the gory details about that kind of stuff. It just doesn't seem sanitary. It's wrong. But anyways, there's this book called Rules for Radicals. And apparently Saul Alinsky was Hillary Clinton's advisor, mentor, her hero, whatever they say. They can do rules for radicals, but today if you try to speak up, you're an anti-government belligerent. Maybe they'll say you're a terrorist because you don't approve of homosexuality. And Ashley Madison's guaranteeing confidentiality if you want to cheat on your spouse, adultery. The sixth commandment of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. But what's interesting about Hillary Clinton's hero in this book, you're not going to believe this, but Saul Alinsky gives credit, lest we forget, at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement of the very first radical from all our legends, mythology, in history, and who is to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which. The first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he won his own kingdom. And who's he talking about? You're not going to believe it. Lucifer, the devil. So in the Bible, it says, see, these people are acknowledging the Bible, making a point here. And they're giving credit to Lucifer. And of course, this is the inspiration to Hillary Clinton. And they had books, Rules for Radicals. So they were allowed, even these United Nations and the governments and all these people spending billions of dollars since 2008 to go from 35 or 33% approval for gay marriage to 60-something%. It cost them billions, and they even used cartoons and movies and the media. We've all seen it. Brokeback Mountain cartoons, teachers in schools accused of showing homosexual videos to kids in school and classes. It took them a lot of years to gain a couple percent of approval from the public with all the propaganda, deception, and force. And billions of dollars in our taxpayers' taxes were spent to sway the mind from Jesus to Lucifer. And some people say there is no Jesus. Come on, Rick. Wake up with the times. It's science. I don't know about anybody else, but Edgar Cayce was pretty amazing. Virginia Beach, they have a whole Edgar Cayce center. What, 17,000 readings? People sending him their name and their particular complaint. And apparently a doctor couldn't cure something or another. And so the first half of the 17,000, 6,000, 7,000, I don't know, he was just basically doing medical stuff, and a lot of doctors were involved and were impressed. He wasn't a fraud. And then he started doing life readings to people. So you could find out if you were ever in Atlantis, Rome, wherever, or the time of Jesus. And he's even got a book about that. So the prophet. America's #1 prophet. I guess told people they were alive back in Jesus' time and were involved in things related to Jesus. So much for these people saying that Christianity is a big hoax. I'm going to do another video on this book. I just finished this book. Carlos Castienda went to Mexico in the mountains with a sorcerer, witch, shama, whatever, with Don Juan, took peyote, went through a lot of lessons. You see, I read it all. So it should be proved to be a very interesting video. But I thought this video was a little bit more important because of some of the things going on in the world right now. So it's just a little bit of organizing. There's another book on shamanism, Techniques on Ecstasy. So I've got a lot of reading to go. Just looking for anything in here that might want to jump out at me. I'll just read. This is in this book. I just opened it. I haven't read the book yet, but there is some markings in here. I might have read it at one time before I was highlighting and stuff. But such maladies nearly always appear in relation to the vocation of medicine men, is not at all surprising. Like the sick man, the religious man is projected onto the vital plane that shows him the fundamental data of human existence. That is solitude, danger, hostility of the surrounding world. But the primitive magician, the medicine man or the shaman, is not only a sick man, he is above all a sick man who has been cured, who has succeeded in curing himself. Often when the shaman's or medicine man's vocation is revealed through the illness or an epileptoid attack, the initiation of the candidate is equivalent to a cure. The famous Yukan shaman Tuspan, that is fallen from the sky, has been ill at the age of 20. He began to sing and feel better. So it should be an interesting book to read. Just furthering my proof here. Another book, Discovering Your Past Lives. Now there's a big debate about reincarnation. I suspect, I'm not trying to prove it or anything else here, but I suspect reincarnation could be a reality. How would Edgar Cayce read people's past lives? I don't think he was lying. And I think throughout all the religions all over the planet, throughout history, there have been spiritual beings intervening in humanity's reality. They call them prophets, seers, etc. So, you know, I'm not stuck on that everybody has to join or be a Christian to be a good person and wind up in a better place in the next life or after they die. I'm open-minded. But I'm not open-minded to Lucifer and Satanism. Especially when I read the Bible and I read some of the stuff about karma and the things that can happen to you, projecting yourself into your past lives. It should be an interesting book to read. I can't wait to read. I got so many to read. Here's another one that's interesting. So people don't believe there's a soul. They don't believe there's a God. That's my point. And what these people, Satan's School Club, want to prove that there's nothing. They're atheists, they say. I don't think they're even atheists. They're really worshiping Satan, which is what they named their group. Satanist. Astral Voyages. More information about how to leave your body, whatever. Should be an interesting read. I got a long ways to go, and I've been doing these videos for 3 years. The Essential, Edgar Cayce, another book on his. Plenty of stuff to read. This important book is a terrific resource for those interested in taking a step beyond the life story of my unusual grandfather. Kenny Kingston, psychic to the stars. He has had the opportunity to give readings of many illustrious people. Here are some of the list of the people. Lucille Ball. I'm just going to flip through this. Joan Crawford, Jack Benny, Carol Burnett, Martin Luther King, Doctor, Glenn Ford. I'm just looking at the names I know here. William Hearst, Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Would that be the king and the queen? So they have, Hollywood's into a lot of the other ways to hold a seance. So they're having communication with otherworldly beings in this book. Look at the title there. Other ways to hold a seance. So the Satanists want to have a Satan club for your kids. Hollywood Supernatural. Sherry Hansen Steiger and Brad Steiger. I've been reading some of this, and man alive, Unholy Knights, the dark side of the Force, in this book. Look at the top. Apparently, these Hollywood people, when they become famous and rich, they have some strange satanic parties. Here it says on 138, around 1973, you're not going to believe this, page 138, Anton LaVey of the Church of Satan granted a lengthy interview with a number of questions having to do with the rising influence of Satanism on the films being produced by Hollywood during the time. Aleister Crowley, the evilest man alive, accused of raping, sex, and killing little children, said every man and woman is a star. Now what the heck is he doing? Killing children and performing satanic rituals, sex rituals with orgies even. But he neglected to mention that there are stars of varying magnitude. The Nebish, who has been a nothing all his life, who takes up Satanism to get an ego boost, will certainly be confronted with the cold, hard truth that he is like the inner tube with the leak in it that has been blown up out of proportion and put in the bucket of water so that all those leaks can show up. Satanism does separate the men from the boys. Rational self-interest is what Satanism is all about. Rational self-interest is what Satanism is all about in this book here. And the After School Satan Club is in the schools. And least we forget, the satanic rituals when they open that train tunnel in Switzerland is off the charts, even with the horns. Emmys, Grammys, football halftime shows, Katy Perry, Beyonce, Madonna, Lady Gaga, so many more. Even the lyrics from songs from Bieber and activities of Miley Cyrus. It's all satanic coming. It's all programming we the people. No wonder since 2008 it went from 30-something% approval for gay marriage to less than 10 years later, over 60% approval. They have brainwashed the people. And the people are really brainwashed. And when you're programmed, you're programmed. If somebody tries to talk to you and point out these truths, those programmed people get vicious and angry. You can't go against your programming. And the evil people in charge of the government right now, governments, the New World Order folks, bought and paid for politicians, turn towards the dark side. May as well be a Star Wars movie. And the evil empire is getting the battleship ready to bomb the planet with more evil. Threats of a nuclear world war right now are just over the top. Crashing the dollar, and if they do it, it's intentional. They don't have to crash it. Stock market, they don't have to crash it. It's all computerized. A Swiss university did a study, and all the corporations international around the world seem to be connected to just a few. So these people have really taken over, and they wrote books that we'll look at and said they were going to do this, and apparently they're getting closer to getting it done. And we're reading it right here. Rational self-interest is what Satanism is all about. Not an excuse or a license to do whatever people like doing. This little question here. What is your opinion of the occult dramatization that one sees almost every week on television? And I got to tell you, I watched a couple of those shows like Gotham, Texas Rangers, and a couple others. And I had to stop. The portrayal of humans in those shows was horrible. They were making humans out to be complete monsters. And then, of course, they got the circle with a star in flashing up, a satanic symbol. And all kinds of other satanic symbols that people, if you've been paying attention to research, and you're aware of. Just checking my time here. And again, these people here with the Satanic Temple promotes it After School Satan Club. I'm going to get back to reading that in a second. But they're trying to convince everybody there's no soul, there's no God, there's no right, there's no wrong. Rational self-interest. And they have signs in downtown cities now. It's illegal to feed the homeless, give them money or a cigarette or anything. You should wonder who's in charge. Obviously not the Christians. Christians would be feeding people, helping them out. Psychic self-defense. So what I get here when I read this book in its entirety, and if I haven't made a video on it, and I think I probably have, I'm just going to read one. I just randomly opened it to page 85. If an occultist is making a magic circle, the circle with the star in it, funny I mentioned that, and for any reason wishes to seal it with the corundum of the elements instead of the archangels, as it is more commonly done, and feels himself unequal to the task of drawing a presentable eagle, Mendes, the devil, the symbolic form of the cherub in the air, he will use the zodiac sign for the Scorpio. Wow, I read this years ago. I guess I got to go back and read it again. More evidence, and even says psychic self-defense, which means you shouldn't dwell on these topics and study them without a little bit of knowledge and caution, because it could be a little bit dangerous on the other side. And they want to eliminate we the people who pray, and there are people who, I can show you in this paperwork, on this stuff, this Satan clubs, but there are people in the comment section that say, hey, they go to church. They've seen God act in their lives. There's no doubt about what they feel and what has happened. And I've got to say, in my 11 years of doing this research, before I started this, I had a condo in Orlando and a beach house in Melbourne Beach and powerboat and motorcycles and land in Maine. And so I used all my own resources to finance, pay the bills while I did this research. Every day, every week, every month, every year, studying, promising myself I wouldn't consider myself knowledgeable to write a book. I never thought I would make videos. Until I had read books for 10 years, I figured then I would be worthy to have an opinion. But I did start earlier than the 10 years, and I have read a couple hundred books by now. Watched thousands of videos, hundreds of magazines, 10,000 maybe or more, press releases, and I got big cases here beside me, all cataloged by the year. I've been making these New World Order media and press release videos I have barely touched the surface. Got about this much of a stack done, and I've got way much more than this to do. You love my language? Way much more. If I stacked it up, it's probably 5 feet of regular paper. But anyways, Rabbi Marvin Antelman, they want to eliminate Christianity. People have felt the effects, seen the miracles. I've seen the miracles. When I would run on financial hard times and there was a decision to make to keep doing this or go back into my money-making mode, something would happen and I would make another sale, get another commission. I mean, it happened too many times. Sometimes even money would show up in my mailbox. I wasn't telling all my neighbors of my situation, but I was slowly selling all my assets, and I don't have any debt anymore. I don't owe any credit cards, no mortgages, no car payments. So my business is doing all right now. I worked hard at it, and I keep doing these videos. But I've seen, my point is, there have been miracles in my life, and I've already kind of spooked friends of mine throughout my whole life, because I would exhibit some kind of psychic abilities. I would mention people's names, and all of a sudden, I would walk around the corner, there they were. Or the phone would ring. 10 years later, I'm sitting with a friend of mine. And my friends over the years started noticing, and they go, man, that's crazy. I've had an out-of-body experience. Space shuttle blew up on my birthday. I was elected president of my business association on 9/11, and I had to cancel my nomination until the next meeting because they called us to go watch the TV program. So I've just been convinced, and I've been doing all this study, and I started my research into the realm of psychic research, and again, I wasn't looking to do that. After working 10 years at a major aerospace company, I have an electronic engineering technician degree, electronic technology. I wanted to go back into my favorite thing, studying alternate energy, not psychic stuff, but get away from oil and gas, stuff more like Nikola Tesla, and get away from nuclear. So I decided to read the autobiographies of famous people, including Nikola Tesla, and I'm reading the book, and these people are all psychic. So then I went out and studied for a couple years about how to use a pendulum and dowsing rods to find water, and read all those books before I even got into the conspiracy stuff. But anyways, they do say in this paperwork here, they do want to stop the horrible teaching of Christianity to the children, having them fear for their lives. If they sin, they'll be punished. And Aleister Crowley wants everybody to do as thou wilt. Pedophilia with children, raping women if you want to, raping men, raping boys. Because who has a right to stop you from doing something that you think that you like? So anyways, they want to eliminate Christianity. They want to not have people pray. And there are many people, including me, who says that prayer and miracles happen. There's plenty of books I have here. But anyways, Rabbi Marvin Antelman writes these books to eliminate the opate. And the opate means to believe in God, because it's like a drug. Like a shaman doing his rituals to communicate with the other side, to get some healing medicines for a sick girl. When people pray, it says in the Bible, God's presence will be there. The spiritual being God, all-powerful, and I guess is powerful enough to have a third of the angels and Lucifer cast out of heaven into someplace else. And like Saul Alinsky there says, they now have an empire of their own, a kingdom of their own in hell, if that's where they are. So Rabbi Marvin Antelman tells all, even about Hitler in these books, in Hitler's diaries, Volume 1, Volume 2, that Hitler, the cult, abducted a young gypsy man in Munich, Germany. It's in these books. Sacrificed him on an altar to bring forth one of these interdimensional spiritual beings to impregnate another girl of the cult lying on an altar. Apparently, when they sacrificed the guy, the being did appear, but failed to impregnate the young girl, apparently to bring some kind of God into this world. Just trying to make a point when I go back and read this. Alright, let's go back and read this document some more. They pointed out, the Satanists, that Christian evangelical groups already have infiltrated the lives of America's children. Let's see, what are the commandments? Don't kill, don't do adultery, don't steal, don't bear false witness, and don't covet what other people want. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The first 5, one God, don't take the Lord's name in vain, don't worship idols, obey the Sabbath, take a day off. The Sabbath in the Bible, it says, wasn't made for God, it was made for man to take the day off. And number 5, honor thy mother and father. And Jesus' teachings were to treat others how you wanted to be treated. So here we have America's children, through after-school religious programming in public schools, they appear to be giving students a choice, Jesus or Satan. We read that. The Satanic Temple, which has been offering tongue-in-cheek support for the fallen angel. So they have support for Lucifer, who was cast out of heaven. So we have a choice, Jesus or Satan. In public arenas that have embraced prayer and parochial ceremonies. But the group's plan for public school children isn't actually about promoting worship of the devil. The Satanic Temple doesn't espouse a belief in the existence of a supernatural being that other religions identify solemnly as Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub. The temple rejects all forms of the supernatural. Did you see these books I just went over? So they say they reject all forms of the supernatural. I suspect they're not telling the truth. And rejection of all forms of tyranny over the human mind. So they think God is tyrannical to tell us the 10 Commandments. That's the bottom line. Every child will receive a membership card and must have a signed parental permission slip to attend. We think it's important for kids to be able to see the multiple points of view, to reason things through, to have empathy and feelings of benevolence for their human beings. Whoa, that's what Jesus taught. These people sacrifice people, the Satanists, the Illuminati, the Talmudic Jewish people. And they're running our governments, and they're causing wars, and they're bombing Syrians and other people to smithereens with horrific, even phosphorus rain, molten lava, on the people over there in the Middle East. And here in the United States, they bought 450 million hollow point bullets. Where's the benevolence for your human beings in that? They say one thing, and they do another. The emphasis on multiple perspectives is a hint pointing to the temple's true foe. I thought about this when I was studying this stuff earlier, proofreading it. There's an old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if you have a real serious angry enemy who wants to destroy you, and you find out that he has an enemy, then you go see that enemy and you join forces to stop that evil force. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So apparently, these people, the Satanists and the Zionist Jewish people, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, it's all here. I'm going to show you more material. All of them hate Christianity and mock Jesus. And they want to destroy us with the New World Order, New Age. So they are the living entity that is our enemy. And their enemy is Jesus. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So my friend is Jesus. That's the tool. You believe in Jesus? It says in the Bible, he who takes refuge in me, Proverbs, I shall be thy shield. That's a big important thing, and why Rabbi Marvin Edelman wrote these books. If you read anything, go buy these books. And he talks about how they don't want you to have the power of the belief in God and prayer. That's what they fear. Let's see, a little bit more here and I'll go back to my books. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that to exclude an after-school program on account of the religious views of its sponsors amounted to a violation of free speech. So during 1601 to 1699, 1700s, they were burning at the stake witches. But now the witches have a right and access to the school kids. Church of Satan. How a satanic temple forced Phoenix lawmakers to ban public prayer. So they wanted to put the temple, a statue of Baal, the devil, which I've shown in my previous videos, or something. And so to have equal rights, because the Phoenix lawmakers had public prayer, so they wanted to go in there and have satanic prayer. So Phoenix just canceled prayer altogether. Again, the goal of the communists, the Illuminati, and the Zionists, and all these other mystery school of Babylon, Lucifer worshippers, is to stop you from praying, to eliminate the opate, to eliminate your ability to pray and talk to God. This rabbi was the leader of the USA Jewish Congress. Remember, there's three types of Jewish people, probably more, but these are the important ones. Ones who still believe in God, the ones who are trying to warn us. Rabbi Marvin Entelman, Henry McCall, PhD, Canadian author, writes the book Illuminati, the Cult That Hijacked the World. It isn't me, it's a PhD Jewish author in Canada. Smarter guy than me. So that's what when you see this stuff, people buy into this stuff. So the Liberty Council agrees that the Satanic Temple has a right to organize. Remember, all these politicians belong to all these Masonic lodges or organizations, Council of Foreign Relations, Harvard, whatever, Skull and Bones, George Bush, John Kerry. They're all doing devil signs, eye signs, hidden hand signs with part of their hand hidden in their jacket. The symbolism is everywhere. The Emmys, Grammys, football halftime shows, Olympic opening, that tunnel in Switzerland, TV programming, the insane Satanism symbolism is everywhere. And apparently it's also in the Olympics going on now in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. While the Good News Club focuses on indoctrination, instilling children with a fear of hell and God's wrath. So if you tell them about the Ten Commandments, that they shouldn't kill, or they'll go to a bad place and be punished. Well, don't we have prisons? And, well, they let everybody out of prison. Our government keeps rotating these people right in and out to continue to cause chaos and anarchy in our own society. They know what they're doing. The After-School Satan Club will focus on free inquiry and rationalism, not a fear of the everlasting otherworldly horror. Good News Club website, each club includes a clear presentation of the gospel and the opportunity for children to trust the Lord Jesus as Savior. So they want to stop that. Mrs. Jensen, a professional educator in Tucson, who has a master's degree, instruction and teaching from the University of Denver, says she has decided to lead an after-school Satan club. Jensen noted that the Satanic Temple materials say the group encourages benevolence and empathy among all people and advocates practical common sense. And I'm thinking again, wait a minute. These people, the Illuminati types, satanic types, and they even have that new website, Illuminatium, they're coming out of the closet. They're admitting they control the world. They control the economic system. They caused 911. They're doing the sky spraying, manufacturing those microwave HARP transmitters, buying all kinds of weapons, including hollow point bullets, and all the federal agencies, while they're using propaganda and apparently false flag events with crisis actors to use propaganda and the media to disarm the Americans while they're arming up, and they're slaughtering people all over the world. And it says here, these people encourage benevolence and empathy among all people and advocate practical common sense. It's a contradiction. They're lying. And I got the books to prove it. I'm only going through a handful of my books here. As a teacher, if I were deciding whether to teach that or the fear and hatred of other people's belief, which is what good news clubs teach, I would choose what the Satanic Temple has available. So far be it from anybody to try to tell their kids not to steal or commit adultery or murder or torture or envy what other people have or lie, bear false witness, commandment number 9. Satanists open city council meeting and, well, just watch. David Shohar from the Satanic Temple delivered a unique invocation after several minutes of protester disruption at a Pensacola City Council meeting July 14th. This was in the Washington Post. Please go look up these documents. Just type in the black letters, that sentence into your search engine, and the information will pop up. In this and other instances, such as when the Satanic Temple proposed the installation of a statue of Baphomet in Oklahoma in response to a stone monument emblazoned with the 10 Commandments. So they are against the 10 Commandments. Do as thou wilt. The evilest man alive, I got the book here, we'll look at it. Henderson argued that believing that there is a benevolent deity, they got this new religion they created, and they called this guy created a church called the Flying Spaghetti Monster. He argued that believing that there is a benevolent deity made of spaghetti and meatballs is just as legitimate as believing in God. Believers in the Flying Spaghetti Monster took on the name Pastafarians. In 2006, it's inaccurate to say that his church is purely a thought, experiments, or satire. Let's look at some more books. FYI, I do believe we're spiritual beings in these bodies. Most people, except for the mind-controlled zombies, the masses of people everywhere, who don't believe there's a God or anything now, they've been programmed that way, even from the cartoons as a child. They had those little Pokemon chip with those little monsters on it. You go walk downtown or drive downtown now, a lot of the people look like those monsters. These people who control our world are experts in psychology and mind control. Putting fluoride in the water, genetically modified foods that your body resists, rejects, and attacks, causing tumors and cancers. There's studies done. Least we forget, cell phones and all those towers probably aren't doing us any good. And Fukushima is spewing all that radiation into the Pacific. And they're trying to cover it all up. Don't eat seafood. But anyways, back to the books. So Jim Marrs, a famous author, well-known, wrote many books. He wrote one on PSI spies, psychic spies. They leave their body. They go into trances or drug-induced state. They work for the government. Jim Marrs, celebrated journalist and author of Alien Agenda, Rule by Secrecy, and the New York Times bestseller Crossfire, unravels the mystery behind the psychic phenomenon known as remote viewing. Rosie Crucianum, I've been reading these books. Another organization with all the symbols. An ancient mystery cult. Information. Look at those creatures. So there's definitely something going on. I made a video on this one. It's published. You can go look it up. Theosophy and social reconstruction. They're telling us what they want to do. Christianity is out. The satanic school system, educational program, the New Age, the New World Order. And some more books. I think this guy Maitreya was an ancient god over there in Rome. But apparently this is part of the New Age and the person that's returning. I'll be going over this some more. So it does make one wonder, what's it got to do with the Egyptian ancients? The pharaohs and the people that Moses rescued the Hebrews from. And apparently the Hebrews, if you know the story, had studied the pharaohs' religion, ancient knowledge, and when Moses had helped them escape and cross the river and on their way to their new land, he had to go up to the mountain to talk to God. And he did, and there was a burning bush, and he got the 2 tablets, 5 commandments on each one, the 10 commandments. But when he came down, the Hebrews had gathered together all their gold and built a golden calf and were worshiping it, having a drunken orgy. Whoa! Moses got really mad, smashed the tablets, and had to punish the Hebrews, go back up for 40 days and 40 nights to get 2 more tablets. FYI, the story. So the Hebrews had embraced the Pharaoh's religion. That's the religion they want to bring back, by the way. So they got these other books I've been going over, which I'm going to read from. I've been reading from. The Reappearance of the Christ and the Masters of Wisdom, Benjamin Creme. It's all about this Maitreya being. The Coming of the Cosmic Christ, more books. I've been reading some of this. Just to read a little, one sentence here. Everything that is in the heavens, on the earth, and under the earth is penetrated with connectiveness, penetrated with relatedness. Hildegard. Eckhart says, all creatures are interdependent. God has arranged everything in the universe in consideration of everything else. Clearly there was a time in Western conscience when the right lobe was not a dried up prune. Mother was not dying. Creativity is dying. So they've been using, this is the New Age Theosophist religion. So let me go back to my little document here again. There's some comments from people here who had read this and left comments like you do on press releases. This one girl writes, "You are right. They don't need false teachings at school. Truly, they don't need satanic. They can say they don't believe in the devil, but I don't believe that." So she's saying these people are lying who say in the satanic club, but they really don't believe in the devil. Another commenter writes, "Not all churches are false. My church is real. You can feel the presence of God there. I have my belief, you have yours. Don't hate you for it. Maybe one day you will believe in the loving God that I believe in." Another comment says, "All churches are false." We just went over all these books. There is some kind of other world and entities. That is why they should not be preaching in schools. The problem is the people involved in these clubs want to hand out material to kids in the schools when the parents aren't there, and that's not good. There is a great meme with the crazy right-wing guy holding up a sign that reads, "If you don't teach your kids to obey Jesus, the devil will teach them evolution, sexuality, and psychology." The meme caption reads, "That awkward moment when Satan is the reasonable choice." So people really believe Satan is the reasonable choice. FYI, another interesting piece of information. During World War II and World War I, there's always been a serious problem. The Britons couldn't motivate their citizens, the people in the army, the military, to really seriously want to kill the Germans. They would just take their rifle and stick it up out of the foxhole and shoot. Their heart really wasn't into killing all those Germans. And in Germany, the leadership there had the same problem. They couldn't really get the Germans motivated to want to go kill other people. So these elitist demonic beings, maybe part DNA reptilian, I don't know, but definitely into the satanic type Luciferic religion they're trying to force on the rest of us, want people to kill each other. Maybe it was just their method of getting rid of unwanted people. And they died and seized all their assets. Is that what they're going to do in the United States? Do something really insane to kill off the people and take everybody's wealth and property? Seems like a obvious motivation. Follow the money. It's all it's really about. Power and money and greed. They want to be the aristocrats and everybody else has to be the slave. And they don't need to feed the ones they don't need. They don't need to have them alive. More comments. If these people view Satan as merely a mental construct, then why call themselves Satanists if Satanism is not real in their own words? So they say they don't believe in Satan, but they call him the Church of Satan. And remember, Satan deceives, and their commandments, their religious philosophy, are the opposite of the Ten Commandments. That's how you can tell when you're reading a book, whether it's a good book or a bad book, by its acknowledgement. And even Jesus said, you can go look this up, you have to test the spirits. Just because you're communicating with some entity, you can't just trust them. But some people get so bewildered by this entity, or they hear in their dreams or visions. Even Nikola Tesla talked about that, and a lot of other famous people did. You have to test the spirits. Ask them if Jesus was real, and they have to tell the truth. Then you can get some truth out of the spirits. But so many people today, zombified on fluoride and other cartoons and TV programs, they don't believe in anything. They even don't care that all the Syrians over there in the Middle East are being slaughtered. And the last of the Palestinians will probably be executed before too long is up. Benjamin Netanyahu said they'll never get a two-state thing in place. 1946, they allotted a small piece of land to the Zionist, Jewish, Rothschild Illuminati leadership to create the state of Israel. Now the Palestinians don't even have hardly anything left. Everything's been destroyed. Parks, farming, orchards, all their buildings. Even in Syria, they're relentlessly bombing everything to smithereens right now. And then, of course, they got that crazy distractions going on in the United States. So people aren't noticing that. They got the Hillary and the Donald Trump election. Everybody's in a fever. Nobody's paying attention to the Syrian thing and the Middle East thing, where the greater Israel is supposed to be from the Euphrates to the Nile. Looks like it could be about half the size of the United States. They already have nuke missiles and something called the Samson option. If the world tries to stop them, they're going to push the button and release those nukes and take the world down in a flaming inferno along with themselves. Look it up. Don't believe me. Is this what we're dealing with? Alright, more notes here. It ticks me off. I didn't say the nasty word he said. Religious people, much like the Church of Satan, they really just use the name to screw with people. So this guy hates Jesus' people and Satan's people. Because it is the perfect way to cause Christians to show what hypocrites they are and get the schools to disallow any religion in the schools. I'm making a point here also. So many people are just, we'll go along with the Lucifer satanic thing. It's mind-boggling. I know this has nothing to do with gay marriage. Right, it has everything to do with gay marriage. But I feel like this is being pushed onto children too. I don't think that they should put that in children's movies. Well, this is that lady again. You should go sit in your classrooms and maybe they have little videos or discussions on homosexuality and sodomy and other things that have been, and nasty books they give the kids to read. One father was looking at the book and he couldn't believe what his daughter was reading. Religion is in movies. Why not gay parents? It's a reality. Every school in this nation has a kid with a gay parent or parents. I don't think so. Why are you so intent on hiding reality from kids? So they're trying to normalize all this stuff and demonize Christianity and Jesus. Why do you feel the need to discriminate against people? So it truly is going to be a horrific divide. And people will choose the satanic side, calling the Christian side haters. And the Bible clearly says a man shouldn't lie with a man like he lies with a woman, and more. Truly, we all make mistakes and sin. Maybe we get angry, but we want to do better and ask God for forgiveness of sins, repent. I feel that this earthly reality is like some big school thing, and as our spiritual beings are given the gift to come here, and we are free to do as we want, and obviously our self will show itself by what we do. So it'll be easy to identify the good soul and the bad soul by what they do. Are they self-serving or do they care about other people? This guy writes, my denomination is Church of God. I truly believe in Jesus Christ. He was crucified for our sins and rose from the dead in 3 days. So remember, the earth was apparently destroyed. I believe God is all-powerful. Maybe, I don't know if it's some super consciousness or whatever it is, but you know, the Atlanteans were into all this perverted and decadent activities. And so the islands were sunk, and some of the Atlanteans made it to Egypt, according to my research. I got a whole line of books on Atlantis. And they brought with them some kind of genetic manipulation technology, cloning and stuff. And they were creating those horrible creatures. We've all seen in mythology, half man and half animal and stuff like that. The Egyptians were horrified. And there was a big battle between them, and finally they negotiated a deal. But they were even creating some monster sex slaves and stuff. As we see with the Sphinx and other symbols. Men with birds' heads. It's all in the Egyptian hieroglyphics. If anybody wants to see it, it's there. And then, of course, in the Great Flood, apparently the civilization that had grown out of those Atlanteans who mixed with the Egyptians and other people continued to degrade God's creation, the DNA of the humans, pollute it. So they had to have the Great Flood to erase everything and start over. Ironically, with the Hopi Indians and Ecuadorians and native tribes all over the world, some intelligent beings were sent to all these cultures to build underground or in the mountain facilities. Eric Vendanovich in his book, The Gold of the Gods, and so many more. I've read Frank Waters on the Hopis. So these beings prepared for the Great Flood, built underground facilities all over the world, and before the Great Flood, to wipe out again this polluted human DNA. So there's 2 times the earth was destroyed. And then 2 cities, which was the Tower of Babylon, where the people were building a big tower thinking they could get to God, and apparently there's evidence there of nuclear explosions. A lot of the sand has crystallized into green emeralds. And then, of course, we know about Sodom and Gomorrah when the 2 angels came to visit Lot. And all these male citizens come running and say, hey, we hear there's 2 guys in town. Bring them out here so we can have sex with them. And they were angels, they looked like men. Which helps explain a lot about the UFO and alien thing. And the angels, so Lot barred the door. And anyways, the angel said, leave town tomorrow. Do not look back. So they left town. Lot's wife, Sarah, looked back and turned into a pillar of salt, probably from the, nuclear explosion. But these are situations where God does destroy a polluted world. And they're trying to pollute our world right now, as we see with this stuff. And I suspect that beyond the human realm, into the other realm, this angelic realm, they cast out angels for heaven. They know if they can convince all the people to go to the dark side, they know God will erase it again. My conclusions. Why are you so intent on hiding reality from kids? Why do you feel the need to discriminate against people? So they're using these seemingly logical arguments against us, when clearly this isn't an argument. We shouldn't be killing people all over the planet. These elites, Zionists, who want to be the aristocrats of the world, like in that book, The Jewish Utopia, by the intelligence officer, Robert Williams, and all these other books, reviews I've been going over, these are smarter people than me. Another commenter says, yes, targeting kids is the issue at hand. People of other faiths and the non-religious are sick to death of the preaching, Christians. No, we don't see your faith as the truth. And no, we are not interested in you cramming it down our throats or our kids' throats. Like I said, with the gay issue in 2008 at 33% approval, and with billions spent from the United Nations, which is the occult organization also controlled by these Illuminati types, Zionist types, in cahoots with the Vatican, I suspect, and a lot of other rich elites, kings and queens, into the mystery school of Babylon religion, the pagan religions and many gods, Moloch, Ra, Osiris, Isis, Horus, Lucifer, Satan, the devil, and more. Baal, putting up the Temple of Baal in New York and London, and then if you read the fine print, they were putting up 1,000 of them all over the world. And then, of course, CERN, opening up a portal to another dimension, which is interesting. Shiva, the goddess of destruction, is out front, and 666 in the logo. And apparently CERN means portal. Who would have thunk that? I keep reading, I keep learning things. And the Illuminati home base for 1,000 years was Geneva, Switzerland, where CERN is. And apparently the origin of the Frankenstein myth and something to do with vampires and stuff. Suspicious place. We're up against some really tough forces here. Based on the Constitution and the previous act of SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. So people can say things like, Lord, have mercy on their souls, or whatever you like. But this is the bed that has been made. The American Constitution and the SCOTUS, Supreme Court, ruling are clear. Now we might want to remember that Supreme Court was, almost 50% with the Jewish justices? I suspect they didn't get there by accident, and their allegiance is towards the Israel, the Zionists, I suspect. We have an overwhelmingly disproportional amount of these dual citizen types in all of the government and federal agencies. It permeated everything. We're in trouble, and they're trying to take over all the police departments and federalize some cities. And they're planning on microchipping everybody, even Walmart's setting up the equipment. Now we've all got those new credit cards with the chip on them. They're baby stepping us into this. It's all connected. So with the Supreme Court, with half of the justices being with the Zionist, new one world religion, new age reality, new world order, they can say that gay marriage and force the states, tell them they can't ban it. Who are they to rule over all the states? But they want to cause riots and disruption everywhere. And there's going to be more bombings and more shootings, and likely even a nuclear explosion in some harbor or some kind of plague or crashing the dollar. Something to bring about the martial law and really force the issue. And they really don't have a love for the gay people, if the gay people don't know that. And then, of course, with the Black Lives Matter, these people trying to create all this monstrous reality really don't care about the black people. They're using them. I think poor against rich, blacks against whites, men against women, gays against straights, Americans are hating the Arabs. And so behind the background, the puppet masters are busily at work and using something called the Hegelian dialectic, where if they want to go and invade the Middle East, they have to cause an event, and all the population has to think it's real. They can blame it on some box cutter carrying Arabs from Saudi Arabia, by the way. So they can go attack Iraq and Afghanistan to get all the oil and the opium. And they're destroying Venezuela right now, which is filthy rich in oil, diamond and golds and mineral resources. And they want to starve the population to death, which they've done in China, which they've done in Russia, and with the sky spraying here in the United States and the seemingly malevolent activities, they probably want to starve the USA people to death. There's some really evil forces at work here. So the Supreme Court has ruled that the states can't ban gay marriage. Then they got to have the satanic clubs for your kids at school. If a group attacked progressives' religious beliefs, like diversity or homosexuality, they would be screaming at the top of their lungs to have it banned. And I've noticed that too. The lax, tolerant attitude of we Christians, which gave them the power to grow the gay agenda and all that stuff, happened. But now if the Christians say, wait a minute, this has gotten way out of hand, they want us to shut up. They're not as tolerant as we were. Part of that Christianity teaching, tolerance. They do not have it, which of course the Satanists would not have tolerance teaching. You have to act in your own best interest. If the world will just allow you to take it over and enslave it, why shouldn't these Zionists put themselves up as the aristocrats and rulers of the world and make people suffer and die? Why, if the people let it? Survival of the fittest, maybe. Come on. You think Lucifer and a third of the angels are happy with humans, God's creation? They want them destroyed. All right. A couple more documents I found. The Satanic Temple issues preemptive corrections to inevitable false claims about their after-school programs. There is a website I got this from. I had to get my computer to the page so I could see it. The AfterSchoolSatan.com. You're not going to believe it. So there's the website there. The Satanic Temple issues preemptive corrections to inevitable false claims about their after-school program. In the past, we have seen our campaign's beliefs and intentions shamelessly misrepresented. Nonetheless, let us be perfectly clear about the nature of our after-school program, so that we might attenuate the intentional misunderstanding and irresponsible misrepresentations that are sure to arise. And here's one of the symbols that was on that site. To me, clearly a satanic symbol, witchcraft. The circle with the star in it and the head of Baphomet, the devil. So there's no doubt about what we're dealing with here. Witchcraft is real. I've been going over these books, so let's look at some more books to take a peek at this witchcraft stuff, occult I keep talking about. I made quite a few videos on this book. I need to re-release them. Edward Henry. And trust me, it's packed full of evidence about what the Zionists are up to. Horrible stuff. Page 211. I just flipped it open. I've made videos. You can go look at my videos. I'll republish them again. God admonished the Jews against the destructive practice of usury. So interest rates taking over the Federal Reserve of the United States in 1913, crashing the system 8 times since then, buying everything up from the people on pennies on the dollar with money they just print like paper. Money is paper that they print. Crashing it 8 times after families would build up a little wealth or net worth. So I think the ultimate end with the New World Order is nobody's ever going to be able to accumulate any wealth at all. You'll only be given what you need to survive. Communism. Trust me, they're not going to give you a luxury edition of socialism. Look what they're doing to the Syrians and the Venezuelans and people all over the world right now. You do not need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this out. With all these books I'm showing on this video, anybody with any common sense ought to figure it out. Why would the Jews ignore the commands of God against usury? They ignored God's commands because the Orthodox Jews do not follow the Old Testament. They have replaced God's laws with their traditions. Israel Shenek explains that although the Talmud forbids a Jew on pain of severe punishment to take interest on a loan made to another Jew, the rabbis have figured a contrivance to get around that restriction. So there's a whole bunch in here, but apparently they can charge us non-Jews interest and steal from us and have sex with our children, and it's all not a sin because we're we're cattle. We're not really humans, so they say. And lest there be any doubt at all, go buy this book if you question at all the implications that 911 was an inside job. It's all here. There's no question. Somebody writes here on the back of this book, 911 synthetic terror is brilliantly and most solvently written. One can't stop reading. Webster's delivers a devastating judgment. Congratulations, I endorse it wholeheartedly. And that would be the former German Minister for Research and Technology, Andre Boulot. And there's a whole bunch of people here giving praise to this book about the goings-on and whereabouts of Dick Cheney and George Bush and so many other people, and people selling the stock in American Airlines or whatever, and people being told not to go to work in the buildings, and on and on and on. Another little book I haven't read. The Strategy of Satan, How to Detect and Defeat Him. This book is a manual of arms for the Christian soldier. It is not a devotional reader for the believer who has gone AWOL. It is a deadly serious guidebook for dedicated Christians who are on the battlefield and want to know how to win. Well, I can tell you how to win. Trust in God and Jesus. Oh, here's a heart-wrenching book I haven't read yet, but I finally got it in the mail. I've been trying to buy it for a couple of years, but it was outrageously expensive. I think I got this one shipped from England. Transformation of America. The true life story of CIA mind control slave Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips. I haven't even read this book here, but here's something interesting in here somebody else highlighted before I got it. In reality, I was to meet with CIA operative Jimmy Buffett, who devoted more time to the proliferation of CIA criminal covert activity than he did to his music career cover. Wow, I didn't know that. Let's hope that's not true. I'll read this book. But she talks about another highlighted thing here. It goes, the mirrors depicted a doorway into other dimensions, adventures interlocked with my Catholic conditioning in Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and theme programming in Bewitched is the normal next door neighbor that is considered crazy rather than the witches. So they were creating all these programs, and she's got all this evidence in here. But anyways, she was raised as a child to be a sex toy to the high-level politicians. Among those internationally scandalous tapes are numerous videos covertly produced at the supposedly secure political sex playground in North California, Bohemian Grove. My perception that the Bohemian Grove serves those ushering in the New World Order through mind control and consists primarily of the highest mafia and the U.S. government officials. So they have literally permeated our society, and they raise young women and men to be warlocks and witches and sex slaves for these powerful elites. Constance Coombe wrote the book, Beware of the Rainbow. She makes no bones about it. Tells all. It's all in here. I gotta re-release this video. Here's a page 185. I'll read one paragraph. Likewise, it makes an Orthodox Christian or Jew no happier to read the source books for the movement. Alice Bailey, David Spangler, Anna Yoga, Theosophitical, Rosie Crucian, H.G. Wells writings. All these things I made videos on. And see the cold plans for a near future cleansing action, especially when the reader realizes he is among those to be cleansed. So all the decent people are the ones who are going to be cleansed, or what they call during a revolution, purged, rounded up into FEMA camps and killed. Reading that all who expressed recalcitrant towards the New Age, so anybody who objects to the New Age and the gay agenda and everything else, towards the New Age Christ, will be released from physical embodiment, killed. Your spirit set free and sent to another dimension other than the physical incarnation, certainly does nothing towards giving the reader warm feelings about the writers and their followers, the New Agers. So the smart little lady than me wrote this book. I read it all, made videos. Report from Iron Mountain. Read it all. If I haven't made a video, I got something else to show. I've been working at reorganizing all my videos. The series, because I'm up to 95, I think I'm going to probably videotape number 96 tomorrow, which will probably be on this book. The reappearance of the Christ. Remember, Christ means anointed one, and it doesn't say Jesus, so it's not Jesus who will be the anointed one. Some Maitreya type God. Anyways, there's a bunch of stuff written in here. And apparently some kind of little cross there made with somebody's blood. And you can see that it was published by Lucas Publishing Company, where my finger is, which was formerly Lucifer Trust. And the chapter that I'm going to do, and I read it all and highlighted like I'll show you here. But I wanted to do this video first, so when I do this second one here, it'll make more sense. The New World Religion. By the Theosophist Society. And just so you can see here, I've already read everything. The yellow highlighting. So I'll probably be taping this weekend. Today is the 5th of August. But wow! And this is by the Lucifer Publishing Company, the Theophist Society. Alice Bailey, who inherited the helm of that organization. Helena Blavatsky, I think, was one of the originators with The Secret Doctrine and the ISIS Unveiled and many other books and pamphlets, including a magazine called Lucifer. So before I did this, I thought it would be appropriate to have this video showing some of this other stuff. And here's another book by Alice Bailey, the Theophist Society, and yet another one by Lucas Press, which means light, which also means Lucifer, light. And the Tibetan teacher, and so it's all about some Tibetan teacher, some masters, some kind of beings, hierarchy that kind of run things on this earth. So I thought I would just look at one thing in this book. Should anyone, not thus capable, be able to contact the devas, and through the use of mantrams, invocations, like abracadabra, hocus pocus, but I'm sure much more satanic symbolism like the star with the circle around it, witch's circle. So it says here, should anyone thus not capable be able to contact the devas, and through the use of mantrams gather them to him, he would find that the force they carry would descend on him as a destructive one, and serious consequences might result in one or other of his bodies. It says that with the other book I'm going over, A Separate Reality, with Carlos Castellanda. I'm going to do another video, part 2 on that. I just finished that book today. I've been busy. So they talk about divas in Alice Bailey's Letters on Meditation, and everybody's into the yoga. It's all same thing. And apparently if you interface with these divas, they can be quite vicious and harmful to you. So a few weeks ago I did go on Yahoo image site and type in divas. If you've been watching my videos, pictures really help us visualize. And apparently these are the pictures I found. Some kind of beings that glow, that can look human. And they're in history, they're in all the cultures, they exist apparently. And all these pictures on the Yahoo image site, so we give credit where credit is due. There's a link there that shows where these pictures came from and an explanation. And the religions have these divas, these spiritual beings that can fly and manifest and do crazy things. Just like the Separate Reality book I went over. With Carlos Castellanda, that I'll be going over again. When they take the peyote or the Jimson weed or I forget what that other drug was. It'll be in my review when I go over it again. But they can it raises your body frequency so that you can see this other reality. A good example of that is, I'll just draw a line here, and let's say eye, ear, smell, sound. Okay, so this frequency spectrum, it's pretty wide. Gigahertz, megahertz, from down to the ear, which is like up to 1600 hertz. So anyways, there's just small, these bands I made on this picture are actually much smaller if you go look up the frequency spectrum. But you can see that in the spectrum of frequencies, from here to here, which would be the entire frequency spectrum, only a small portion is towards sound, smell, eye, and ear. So certain frequencies, sound, smell, eye, and ears. So there's so much here we can't see in the frequency band. And if you take the ayahuasca, in Peru, or the peyote in Mexico, or probably the opium overseas, it apparently raises your body frequency, and maybe with the pineal gland in your head or whatever, your brain, you can see more frequencies than those narrow bands for smelling, hearing, seeing, ears, eyes, smell, and sound. I guess that would be the ear. Taste, so the 5 senses. Touch is another sense. So the 6th sense can be turned on, I guess what I'm trying to say. And possibly you can see these divas, these beings. That was my point. And that's part of being initiated and learning to go to Rosicrucian occult school, and the military training people to do remote viewing. So they have all these beings that can manifest, which explains the UFOs and aliens and stuff. Apparently they can even look like a UFO craft that people have said has appeared and disappeared. And apparently there have been some kind of vortex portals that appear in the sky, and a UFO will come out of it. Or sometimes they're racing away and a portal will appear and they go in it. And it helps us understand things about CERN and the Philadelphia experiment and H.G. Wells' time machine and so much more about our reality. And of course with the Buddhist religion, they got the little baby there with many arms. Statue of Shiva out in front of CERN, and all these ancient religion monuments. Looks like a lot of viciousness going on there. A guy with a big club in his hand. And these divas that can appear solid and not solid. New Age designs and symbols. So it certainly makes God and Jesus believable, and the angels and all the stories. It matches all this stuff. There's nothing complex about it. We're spiritual beings in these biological bodies. And these beings can be seen like ghosts, cherubim, demons. So here's Jesus walking into a town. I did videos on St. Mark, Matthew, and Luke. And I'm going to do some more. He's walking into town with some disciples, and this guy who was, I guess, crippled and the town lunatic, looks up and sees Jesus coming, and he straightens up and he goes, "What are you doing here?" So the guy was really not a lunatic or sick. He was possessed by a being who could took over his senses, so he appeared to be a lunatic and a crazed man. And that's what these possessed beings do. But he saw Jesus, which he recognized, this spiritual being. And Jesus says, "Out of him, unclean spirit." And the spirit was forced to leave the guy. And he straightened up and he became normal again. This is in the Bible. So these spiritual beings do want to try to inhabit humans' bodies. There is a malevolence about this, an evil thing going on. Like I said, at these websites, there's links to what all this means. But they have all these spiritual beings that people see, and I think if you take these drugs, and I don't know what effect it has on the Talmudic Jewish people by plucking all the holes in a little boy, draining the blood into a bucket, drinking it, where apparently they get some euphoric high, and maybe they can see different spectrums on the frequency scale and communicate with different beings. But then again, Jesus said, test the spirits. So you've probably got two types of spirits, admittingly, which would be the angels and God still in heaven, and 1/3 of them with Lucifer who were cast out. Those two places. And then, of course, a third realm would be here on earth where we humans are. And apparently these spiritual beings can appear here on earth. And apparently they're planning, as we see when I go over this other book, They're planning worldwide invocations and mantras and praying to get all the people to bring the Lucifer being back into this reality. The reappearance of the Christ. So they're going to use witchcraft and magic like CERN and maybe harp systems and whatever else. They're going to get everybody to pray to bring this being into this reality. It says it in here. Yikes. So it just, as you go enough of this, and they take the drugs, and they use crystals. Remember, your pineal gland in your brain, right here, your pineal gland, which they put fluoride in our water and toothpaste and other things. Apparently, it calcifies the pineal gland, and we lose our psychic abilities. Do you think that's intentional? And they got to eliminate the opaque by Marvin Endelman. They don't want you to pray. You think that's intentional? So the crystals inside that little thing about the size of your thumbnail has water and crystals, and it helps you to see that frequency span. They don't outside your frequency range from your eyes and your ears and your smell and your taste and your feel, temperature and everything. If you had a clear or clean pineal gland, which would be just with water and crystals, we would have greater psychic abilities, but they inhibit that with the fluoride, which calcifies the pineal gland. But these people take drugs in the military into trances, and these are divas, spiritual beings, which apparently are documented throughout history of the Bible, and even in all these occult theophist books, Rosicrucian, Freemasons, and all that. They all admit to this, and they all admit that Jesus was real. Don't be deceived. And they got the Bohemian Grove with the gigantic owl. They throw a baby into a burning fire called the cremation of care. They bring in gay men for all these old fat politicians who are naked and dressed in long robes for some kind of satanic or sexual ritual. Yikes. So what are the evil beings they are in communication with, who are trying to destroy all the decent people on planet Earth? And I'm sure there are some angels and beings who come to Earth and as prophets throughout history. And men like Jesus with the Spirit of God in him, the Son of God. So everything fits together. I mean, it's not rocket science. This spiritual world exists. We're spiritual beings. And this gift on planet Earth to live in the material world. And so anyways, in the book here I had divas. So enough of those. I just released a video by Volume 1 of Henry Ford. I'm going to re-release more videos that I made on the other volumes. Back in the 1920s, they were in 1920, I guess, Henry Ford, in that video I just released. They had camps all over Europe preparing those Yiddish Jews to immigrate to the United States. It was a plan. Just like right now they're doing with all the Arabs, they say. Secretly at night, apparently there are Federal Express jets converted to passenger jets, flying them in the middle of the night and dispersing them throughout small rural towns all over the United States. Did you know that? Look it up. Of course, I made these books where Tex Mars talks about their god, the Holy Serpent, which appears to be the cast-out angel Lucifer, and these other beings. Tex Mars is a well-known author and apparently not a liar. And then you got Ben Wittrop, who says that the whole Holocaust dogma, everything they're saying isn't the way it happened. They're just using the Holocaust as an excuse for a power play over the people. And it'll probably be part of the new religion of the world. And they'll use that event to do whatever they want to do so they can say that event can't happen again. When again, we already know they're doing that, the Zionists and other evil forces in Syria and all over the Middle East, and they did 9/11. They caused World War I, World War II, the Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution. And those death numbers went way over the so-called 6 million in Germany. 25 million or more to 100 million in Russia. Hundreds of millions in China. How many millions died in World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, Korean War, American Revolution, all kinds of stuff. These people have been in charge. And now they want a one world order. They want to be more in charge. And you got these writers who write books, Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Grand Chessboard. They think it's a friggin' game. Excuse my language. It's not a game. People are dying. People are planned to be killed in the future. Pardon my emotions. Franklin cover-up, child trafficking, child abuse, Satanism, and murder in Nebraska. Here's one of the books I have many of these on Atlantis. Fantastic books to read. Astral Doorways. More books. Shamanism, astral plane, remote viewing, spiritualism. We're all spiritual beings in these bodies. And God, through Moses, gave us 10 simple commandments. Don't kill, don't murder, don't do adultery. Your husband's out of town, you shouldn't be cheating around. Or your wife's out of town, or you're out of town, you shouldn't be cheating on her. Or trying to cheat with some neighbor when he's gone. And raping children, raping men and women. Sacrificing rituals, satanic. You shouldn't be doing the bad things. I think that's self-explanatory. And even, regrettably, nobody's... I always say all the famous people are kind of protected. And this lady writes, I testify. So Julia Brown, a Negro lady in Cleveland, Ohio, is hoodwinked into joining the Communist Party to work for the civil rights. So I keep saying, these people who are trying to cause this revolution, destroy Christianity, are using the black-white issue, are using the gay-straight issue, the blaming the Arabs for 9/11 issue, torturing, punishing the Venezuelans right now so they can destroy them and get all the resources, it seems like. Get all the resources and everything in the land in the Middle East for Israel, Ukraine, all of Europe being economically destroyed, America. Brazil is having difficulties. Oh, Standeo, the cosmic conspiracy. The symbols on the US dollar bill. This guy was a physicist. So here you got a physicist who's telling you about Mystery Babylon. Look at this six-pointed star on the flag of Israel's flag. And the two blue stripes on that flag for Israel's flag, it has the star in the center and the blue stripe above and the blue stripe below. Apparently that means the star represents their religion, the six-pointed star. Apparently King Solomon had a magic ring he could call forth demons, these divas we're talking about. And that's two stripes. One means from the Euphrates to the Nile. Prophesized what they're supposed to have. So 911 was needed to bring about the destruction of all those people's buildings. I've shown pictures. It's too much to believe what they've done. They bombed out everything. Just look up on Zionism, not Zionism, but Yahoo image site, and bombed buildings in the Middle East. And it'll show you the picture. It'll tell you the date and the year and what happened. So here you have a physicist spending many years. He does talk shows now, and he even goes up to the roads to Illuminism. So this is a physicist, a scientist. Hermes, Armon, Ra, Osiris, Horus, Satan. These are the gods, the beings. Marduk, Baal, Bel, Bull, Satan. The Elohim Yihah, Jesus the Christ, Egyptian Mystery School, Babylon Mystery School, Hebrew Kabbalah School, Anti-Jesus Illuminati Messianist, mystical Masonic Rosicrucian order of antiquity, Jesuits, mystics, and the modern Masonic orders, the Great White Brotherhood, the Illuminati. Again, this is a guy who spent a good portion of his life studying. He's a physicist, a scientist, and this is his information. If you need any more proof, more books. For 2,000 years, the spear of destiny, the spear that pierced the side of Christ while he was on the cross, has been held by the rulers of the Western world. Herod the Great, Charlemagne, Habsburg, and most recently Adolf Hitler, all have sought to harness the spear's awesome power, powers of both good and evil. So I'll just look at this document. I started this whole thing on one more minute here. And hopefully I'm making my point with these people with this after-school Satan Club. For your kids, my kids, everybody's kids. Their kids. They want to bring us this satanic thing. You've seen all these books. And all my bookcases around me, I have 3 right there. Big bookcases behind me. They're not empty. This is just, I don't know how many I just did. It's just a few off the bookcases. I got closets in the back with more books of the same topics. All my books are non-fiction. So they want to have a satanic temple issues preemptive corrections. This should not be conceptualized as a battle between Satanists and Christians. Wait till I read this. And look at all the stuff in the Freemasonic Morals and Dogma and all those books I've read, and more books I'm going to go over. And I don't know if I showed this as thoroughly as I wanted to, but I told you I had taken all my videos down. I'm putting them back. I'm reviewing them. I'm organizing them. I'll try to roll this real slow so you can see. But I printed out a list in my Excel database. This is the series number here, Series 1, Series 10, Series 19. And these are the books I read, and here's the authors. So that's up to 47. Of course, if I flip it over, we're up to 94. So the books I've read and the videos I've made, these are the 94 books, and some of them, like the Blue Lodge Handbook, is 12 2-hour videos. Many of them are 2 2-hour videos, 3 2-hour videos, 4 2-hour videos. So let's just say I've already finished 96 downloading right now, 95. And I'm going to probably do 96 tomorrow on the reappearance of the Christ. The religion of the New World Order, is that what it said? The New World Religion, which is in this book by Lucas Trust, and the somebody's blood cross on there, it seems like. Published in 1948, and the Theophist Society, which appears to be the religion behind the United Nations. And what the common denominator, the Theophist Society, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, Rosicrucians, of course, the witchcraft and the Kabbalah people, and the Zionists, and all these people, their enemy is Christianity. They hate Jesus. And they hate all of us. And like the Georgia USA Guidestones say, they want a worldwide population of 500 million. I suppose that's a manageable amount of people to serve them So 6 billion possibly have to die, and it looks like they're completely gearing up for World War III. Maybe that's just one of their options, and then of course they have plagues and crashing the economic system, which is in the books I'm going to go over. That's the method that they said they were going to destroy the world. They control everything from a few corporations, control to thousands of international corporations. They're putting the little guy, the farmer, the businessman, shop owner, out of business with the big Walmarts, and as much as we like them, the big hardware stores and office supply stores. And who's the ones who runs these big companies, like Tex Mars says? Predominantly Jewish CEOs, which I didn't believe, but I have the binder. I went on Wikipedia, looked up a bunch of CEOs, and boom, 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 boom. I said, my God, there isn't any Christian CEOs or otherwise. And they're predominantly, disproportionately, advisors and leadership in the federal governments. A lot of them dual citizens with Israel. And of course, the government's buying 450 million hollow point bullets and dispersing drones and heavy-duty military equipment around the United States. Propaganda to disarm the people while the federal agencies are arming up. Spying on everybody, microchipping our credit cards. I guess the next step is microchipping the people. And even the politicians. I watched one say the other day that the New World Order is here. We may as well get used to it. Obama's calling for the world order, world currency, world religion. And apparently it's the part of the rainbow agenda, gay agenda. And I could go on and on. So anyways, this was just a video I felt that was probably warranted. I don't know if I mentioned this one too much. The report from Iron Mountain back in 1967. They feared they couldn't keep the people under control. So they had to come up with some different options, fears, to keep the people under control. Disarmament and the economy, disarmament scenarios, war and peace on social systems, the function of war. You're not going to believe this. Substitutes for the function of war. I kid you not. Back 1967. So they had about a dozen of these elite men, and they met in some base called Iron Mountain, a military base. And they had to hash out a scenario because war keeps all the people patriotic. It riles up the British to go attack the Germans. It riles up the Germans to go attack the British with the newspaper media propaganda. But if you got nuke weapons and you're not going to have war, hopefully you can't rile up the people. So these crooked, devilish politicians can do their nasty things, like go to the Bohemian Grove and throw a baby in the fire, and so much more that we've seen in these books here. Child trafficking, drug trafficking, controlling the stock market, ruining people's lives. So anyways, this report from Iron Mountain. Page 81, sociological. War, through the medium of military institutions, has uniquely served societies throughout the course of known history as an indispensable controller of dangerous social dissidents and destructive antisocial tendencies. So they're worried about maintaining their evil control over the planet, so they had to come up with a bunch of scenarios, go get this book, to propaganda, which they're doing to us. Plague scares, water scares, food scares, global warming scare, climate warming, sustainability, terrorist scares. It's all in the book. 1967. It's all in the book. It's all in all these books. This document I was going over, the After School Satan. Look at the cane in his hand. There happens to be no shortage of Christians who understand the value of church-state separation. But we don't have church-state separation. These Luciferic types have been in charge of the state all along. and prefer that religious matters be left to individual families and communities of worship or practice. So like I said, they won't allow decent Christian people to be politicians. You got to come from the Masonic lodges. Skull and Bones, Council of Foreign Relation, Bilderberger groups, Freemasonic lodges, Illuminati, special hand-picked people like Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Obama. And who's next? So anyways, this program wouldn't be better if we merely called ourselves humanist. This is the satanic club for your school. We are Satanists. That is how we identify and how we will continue to identify. It makes no difference who does or does not choose to recognize an atheistic, satanic philosophy as a legitimate religion. They're lying. Remember, they're Satanists, they're deceivers. They're not going to bring us a beautiful world. If people believe that, they're crazy. Look what they're doing. Look what they've done. While the Good News Club tried to invade children's minds with traumatic and unhealthy, guilt-ridden admonishments, such as they deserve God's punishment for sin, which is death. Well, don't we in the United States, the states, execute people who kill people? Don't we have capital punishment? What's the point here? You go out and mass murder a bunch of people. Status non gratis. You got to get out of here. We don't need murderers. That's my feelings. If they really wanted to treat people who got into trouble better, they would get them in some kind of institution and counseling. Not use them like fodder to create more chaos and anarchy in our system. And money for the lawyers and judges and system. It says here, we are not interested in converting children to Satanism. Yeah, but look at the little character. And look at all the TV cartoon programming and the gay agenda and the Constance Coombe's Beware of the Rainbow. They're lying here. As Satanists, we believe that science is the best arbiter of truth. It just went over all these books. There's plenty of evidence. There's a spiritual reality that exists. The government has remote viewers who leave their bodies. CERN is opening up portals. All kinds of physicists say we shouldn't be doing this. History is full of information about ghosts and spiritual beings. So they're lying here. They say science is the best arbiter of the truth. We see the quest for knowledge as a noble pursuit, and we believe in personal autonomy. After-school Satan clubs are conducted by Satanists in accordance with our values. The participating children are neither required to identify as Satanists, nor will we ask that they at any point do so. Well, even the Freemasons swear under threat of death not to divulge the secrets. Even Helena Blavatsky says they're not allowed to divulge the real secrets. These are surely only some of the corrections that will be necessary as blind outrage builds momentum. In many cases, admittedly, none of these efforts of elaboration and clarification will help. Though it really doesn't matter, thanks to the Liberty Council, the law is on our side. Well, it's a stacked deck with the law. And they do have that website I told you about here. I'm looking at it. The AfterSchoolSatan.com. And here's another document I printed off of it. So there's your atom with the devil inside. So it's a fact sheet. Is Satanism in schools legal? All after-school Satan clubs are based upon a uniform syllabus that emphasizes a scientific, rationalist, non-superstitious worldview. We just went over all these books. We saw pictures of divas. We see Hollywood and the supernatural. We see all this stuff. We see the symbol of the serpent snake all over the world and all the ancient monuments. So where is actually the superstition? Maybe there just should be knowledge. that people should see how the shamans go into alternate states taking these drugs, speed up their metabolism, and are able to see different frequencies in realms that we can't see in our normal condition, especially with the calcified pineal gland. And they put the fluoride in the water and toothpaste and foods. So they know what they're doing. While the twisted evangelical teachings of the Good News Clubs robs children of the innocence and enjoyment of childhood, I had an enjoyable childhood, and I went to church. I built a tree house. I was in the woods. I went fishing. I had an awesome childhood. Replacing them with a negative self-image, preoccupation with sin. So they don't want you to have a preoccupation with sin. Fear of hell, and aversion to critical thinking. After school Satan clubs incorporate games, projects, and thinking exercises that help children understand how we know what we know about our world and our universe. They're lying. They've been keeping this secret knowledge, and as we know with the Freemasons, they swear with the threat of having their throat cut or their stomach cut open if they divulge the secrets. No, Satanism is a religion that endorses scientific rationalization as our best model for understanding the natural world. Just as a moral sense of altruism exists, independent of any religious construct, scientific rationalism is the best method for understanding our physical universe, regardless of what religions we identify with. And I did go over that one book, this one, Hollywood and the Supernatural. And according to these authors in these books, and the other one here, Kenny Kingston, Psychic to the Stars. So Hollywood is seriously into the occult. But anyways, my point being here, apparently Gene Roddenberry went into meditative states. And that's where he got his storyline for the Star Trek series. So now when you go back and watch all the old Star Trek series and you see all those spiritual beings or reptilian beings, you're going to see a theme and go, oh my, I didn't notice that. I didn't know that. After school Satan clubs are operated by local chapters of the Satanic Temple by volunteer members who have been vetted by the executive minister of professionalism, social responsibility, superior communication skills, and a lack of criminal history. Well, I would hope so. If there isn't a chapter of a satanic temple near you, but you're interested in starting an after-school Satan club in your school district, please contact the Satanic Temple. It's just too much. You can't make this stuff up. The ritual they had for that opening ceremony for the train tunnel in Switzerland, it was over the top. Even the dignitaries, Angela Merkel from Germany, the president, and newscasters and everybody who were invited, they were all perplexed and bewildered. It was a satanic ritual. This guy was dropped from the sky with his horns and all. Looked a whole lot more horrible than this one. The devil. Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle reporting.